afternoon and welcome. What a absolute fitting day in the middle of February with 50-some degrees to celebrate this special day honoring Paul Morrison. My name is Sandy Hatfield Clubb. I'm the Director of Athletics here at Drake University and very pleased to spend this afternoon with you. We're going to recognize today Paul F. Morrison, known to many of us as Mr. Drake, as we dedicate the Paul F. Morrison Way. Before we hear from Paul and others, I'd like to extend a very special welcome to certainly David Maxwell, Governor Ray, our City Council members, faculty, staff, students, coaches of Drake University, and certainly all of our extended Bulldog family. Paul Morrison has been a cherished member of the Drake community for 94 years and beyond. His parents met on this campus in 1902, and when Abby Dirks graduated 2 years ago, she was the 14th from that lineage to graduate from Drake University. Paul earned his degree from Drake University in the School of Journalism and Mass Communications in 1939 and went on to be Drake University's very first news bureau director for the entire university. Indeed, it's very fitting that his name will forever link the athletics area with the general campus. It couldn't be more fitting and more wonderful, as he has worked at this university for 65 years, and at the very young age of 94, he beats me to work on a daily basis. But before we say more about Paul and we hear from him, I'd like to introduce to you certainly my colleague, my boss, my friend, Dr. David Maxwell.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you to all of you for coming this afternoon to take part in this wonderful recognition of Paul's place in the heart of Drake University. I want to tell you a quick story about the first summer that Maddie and I were at Drake in 1999 that immediately gave me a very, very special understanding of how remarkable and unique a person Paul was. One of the first things that happened when I got to Drake in 1999 is the Department of Athletics was having a retreat out at Adventureland, which should tell you something. And they decided they better invite the new president out there to acculturate him, since the very fact of me scared them half to death. I'd spent my entire life in Division III institutions, and they were convinced that I had absolutely no understanding or appreciation of Division I athletics. And so I went out and spent a great day out at Adventureland talking with the athletics folks, and met Paul and a whole bunch of other people. And about 2 days later, I went down in the basement of Old Main for a minute, and I came back up, and I walked up to Linda Ryan, and I said, "There's a guy downstairs delivering the mail who looks just like that guy Paul Morrison I met the other day." And Linda said, "That is Paul Morrison." And I said, "I thought he worked in athletics." And she said, "Yeah, but he delivers the mail every afternoon so that he can get his afternoon walk around the campus." That's Paul. It was remarkable. As you know, Paul arrived at Drake as a freshman. We didn't call them first years back then. In 1935, almost 77 years ago. And he's been an integral part of the university's fabric ever since. As I was thinking about Paul's tenure here, it occurred to me that first of all, that's 3/4 of a century. And that period, that 77 years, may be the period of most dynamic change in human history. And I just off the top of my head started writing things down that have happened in the 77 years since Paul first arrived at Drake, and I will share just a couple of them with you. World War II, the Korean War, the eradication of polio in the United States, the beginning and the end of the Cold War, the advent of the jet age in transportation, manned space flight and men on the moon, the end of segregation, the civil rights movement, the election of this country's first African-American president, the Vietnam War, the women's movement, the collapse of the Soviet Empire, the invention of the personal computer, the internet, the web, cable television, smartphones, iPads, iPods, Facebook, Twitter, whatever that is, 9/11 and the war on terror, the Arab Spring, and then, of course, topping the list, the Red Sox won the World Series. I'm not saying that Paul was responsible for all of these events, but when you think about Paul's tenure at Drake in those terms, you get a sense of the magnitude of his tenure here and the constancy of his presence. Throughout all of these tumultuous changes in the world, there was a constant at Drake, and that's Paul Morrison. He's been Drake's touchstone. He's been a living emblem of the best of Drake University, our commitment to excellence, to fairness, to civility, to a passion for what we do and for who we are. And I think it's safe to say that no one among the tens of thousands of faculty and staff and students who've had the privilege to know Paul during these 77 years has emerged from the experience untouched, whose life has not been enriched in multiple ways through Paul's friendship, his mentoring, his advice, his humor, and his encouragement. There's no one who's ever interacted with Paul whose Drake experience has not been so much better for the privilege of knowing him. His support and his example have defined the Drake experience for generations of Drake students. So I'm delighted that we're able to collaborate with the City of Des Moines in recognizing Paul with the naming of Paul Morrison Way, a street that runs literally and appropriately enough through the heart of Drake, as Paul himself lives in our hearts. Now, I know that it's been said for decades that nobody ever crosses Paul Morrison. Paul, I'm afraid is that as of this afternoon, hundreds and even thousands of people every day will be crossing Paul Morrison, and I'm sure that you can handle it. Paul, congratulations and thank you for everything that you mean to Drake as a student, as a member of the staff, as a fan, as a volunteer, as a generous donor, and most of all, as a friend and as an example to all of us. We thank you. And it's now my privilege to introduce the mayor of the City of Des Moines, Frank County.
Paul, it's a great honor for me to represent the city, and seeing my fellow city council members here and the former mayor himself right over here. Bob, good to see you. All here to witness this honorary declaration of the Paul Morrison Way. I've got a special proclamation to read, and we also have a special key for you, Paul. Now, we often say we're not going to tell you what door it opens, but I think that you've spent a lot of time looking and opening a lot of doors, and you'll figure out which one it is pretty quickly. But the proclamation reads, whereas Paul Morrison is widely known as Mr. Drake in honor of his lifelong association with Drake University, and whereas Mr. Morrison graduated from Drake University in 1939, but for a couple of years while in the military was employed by Drake for his entire career. He was initially the director of News Bureau and then a business manager before beginning to work in athletics, where he served as the sports information director. Whereas since his retirement in 1986, Mr. Morrison has continued to serve the university by volunteering his time on a full-time basis as the athletics historian and consultant, and whereas Mr. Morrison has received awards throughout his career, including the Alumni Distinguished Service Award 1978 and the first Missouri Valley Conference Meritorious Service Award in 1997. And whereas at 94 years old, Paul Morrison is still passionate and continues to contribute to Drake University and Drake Athletics. And now, therefore, I, the Mayor of Des Moines, on behalf of the Des Moines City Council and the City of Des Moines, do hereby honor Paul F. Morrison by naming a section of Forest Avenue between 25th and 28th Street as Paul F. Morrison Way. And witness, I have signed this. And in addition, Paul, I'd like to present you with a key to the city.
Thank you, Mayor County. We are grateful for the support of the City of Des Moines, for Drake University, for many, many years, and for our collaboration on this special day. Very special thanks to our City Councilman for leading this, in particular Chris Coleman. Appreciate your leadership and help in bringing this to fruition. At this time, I'd like to bring up to the podium a man whose name has become synonymous with Drake. He has made his work at Drake a labor of love, and he still maintains contact with a very large number of our student athletes to this day. His attention to detail has provided Drake Athletics with volumes of information that has documented our history and heritage. And now, with the dedication of Paul F. Morrison Way, we have a permanent reminder of his legacy and our special guest, Paul F. Morrison.
Yeah, no, I've got them. Okay. One place there.
Inside your jacket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I just start right out?
Yes.
Thanks to everyone for the wonderful weekend. In fact, thanks to so many who have made my Drake career so significant and enjoyable. Especially want to thank two ladies who have done all my correspondence for years. Currently Jolene Osblum, and before her, Joanne Sparks. They have typed hundreds, perhaps thousands of my letters over time, primarily to our letter winners. Also want to thank Mike Mahon, our former sports information director. We traveled together for 15 years, and Mike was so good to take care of me on basketball and football trips. Sorry that Mike is out of town on assignment and can't be here today. It's hard for me to realize that the naive freshman who entered Drake in the fall of 1935 now has a street named in his honor. That just shows you that if you live long enough, good things will continue to bless you. It is especially gratifying to me that it continues the Morrison name on the campus, since Pauline and I did not have any boys, just beautiful, wonderful daughters. I am proud that the Morrison name goes back almost as far as Drake. As indicated, many of you know that my mother and father met here as freshmen in 1902, graduated together in 1906, and were married in 1910. My mother would have been a Phi Beta Kappa had there been a chapter on campus at the time. Sorry I didn't inherit her brains. Both were very active in alumni affairs when we lived in Des Moines, and they continued that interest and support after moving to Cedar Rapids. My dad was president of the Alumni Association at one time, spoke at Homecoming Chapel one year, chapel as we called it in those days, and was the first editor of the alumni publication in 1914. Pauline and I started as freshmen in 1935, although we didn't know each other. Then she dropped out to take secretarial classes downtown, returning to campus as secretary of the Dean of Students. I might say that the Dean of Students office was on the main floor of Old Main, and at that time I was director of the News Bureau, and we were just 2 or 3 doors away, and I like to joke that she chased me for 2 or 3 years before I got smart and let her catch me. After the girls were raised, she started to take Drake classes again, and we were also proud of her when she received her Bachelor of General Studies degree several years ago. I'm sorry she is not here to share in this because she was a great part of my Drake career. Also our daughter Mary, who was the same. As indicated, when our granddaughter Abby Dirks graduated a couple of years ago, She was the 14th member of the Morrison tribe to have a Drake degree. Few families can make that claim. So it's been a long time love affair for me, and I hope it continue for a few more years. Thank you for listening.
Stay up here for just 1 second. If you would hold on right here. You want to hold on right there?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I've asked Paul to stay up here as I have a letter to read and another gift to give. This is from the Commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference. Dear Paul, on behalf of the Missouri Valley Conference staff and administrators, coaches, and student athletes at our member institutions, I congratulate you on the honorary naming of the campus portion of Forest Avenue, Paul F. Morrison Way. This is quite an honor, but then again, you are quite a man. The conference has previously recognized what you've meant to Drake University and the Valley by inducting you into our Hall of Fame along with the charter class of inductees that included the likes of Larry Bird, Oscar Robinson, Wes Unseld, Ed McCauley, Dave Stallworth, Percy Hawkins, and Coach Henry Iba. That's a pretty impressive group.
They were very generous.
In fact, our 10 schools thought so much of you that they voted unanimously to name the award you received, the MVC Merit Award, the Paul F. Morrison Award of Merit. How can anyone thank you enough for what you've given of yourself, asking for nothing in return? As much as anything, you have unified the academic and athletics communities at your university, and you've set an example for anyone after you who wishes to serve at our institutions. We salute you today. We wish to honor you in this very personal token of appreciation and affection, and we want you to know how much we appreciate you.
Oh, thank
Best
you.
regards, Doug Elgin. And this
Thank you.
award from the office.
Oh. Holy moly. Oh, isn't that nice? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll put this down.
Thank you. Thank you.
One more big round of applause for Paul.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Paul Morrison has indeed made Drake University a better place, and as I said before, it's only fitting that his name will forever bridge the center of our campus. This concludes our very formal ceremony, and we ask that all of you join us inside to personally congratulate Paul at a reception inside and say thank you very much to everybody for coming today. And Paul, we love you.